If not everybody's back, then, well, that's fine. We will start slowly. So what was left to cover from last week? Yes, we did go a bit too fast. Is what we started to combine all this different type of comments we learned to make a guessing game. But to make a guessing game at the last minutes, what I showed was the loops. There were this while loop and there was this for loop. So let's concentrate on the loops for now. We have two different types of loops that we're gonna use for now. Let me make a new file, loops.py. I made it in the week 2 folder. And I'll write in a comment that we are going to test some loops. So the first will be the for loop. The for loop is quite straight out, meaning it iterates over a given list, or it iterates over a given number of tries. How do you call it? Iteration, meaning doing something over again. For example, for I in range 5. So if we want to check what it does, we just print I. The question is, what is I in this? I is just basically a random character or a word. It can be a word. It can be called a number. If we call it a number, then when we refer to this number, then we have to type it if we want to see it, but we don't have to see it, to be honest, because we don't have to print the number. What we can print is just, let's say, some hashtags. Why not? We can print that, and it will print it 5 times. So I will comment out this line when it actually prints this iteration, so we can see what it does. So basically, this comment, what it did, it printed this line 5 times. So you guys know that, I mean, this is a bit complicated. It's a new thing, another comment among many other comments. And what is important for you guys, because you're gonna just be copying it. You just copy it and you just change its number to the number of times you want to iterate over, meaning number of repetitions. Range X, where X is the number of the code. There is another use for this for loop, a quite neat one, to be honest. If we have some list, and in this list we have all types of fruits, exotic and not, tomato, perfect, all fruits. What we can do, we can actually make the loop go over each and every element in this list. So for fruit, and maybe let's change the name of the list to fruits. For fruit and fruits, meaning fruit is every single element in this list. As we can see, there are 5 elements. So if we print, we order it to print, I don't know, a star, we will get 5 stars because there are 5 of the elements in this list. But this is a bit more powerful than just printing a star, because what we can do, we can make it print the concrete fruit it is iterating over. I mean, if we type it this way, we're gonna have fruits surrounded by stars, and the first fruit being an orange. So this is quite neat use for the for loop. In many other programming languages, you cannot do something like that, at least not easily.
Sorry, but why do they have twice a print with print in the 12th line and again the print in the 14th line? I mean, it's the same, not?
Yeah, it's just for decoration. It's just that, because what I can do here, if you guys remember from the previous week, we also had this type of operators in a string that if you print /n, it makes the next line.
Mm-hmm.
And this way, when we have this output, we can see nicely there's each fruit surrounded by the stars, which is quite neat. Or what one could do it also differently. One can play a bit with this type of output in this console and make a table, even if someone wants, using the tabulator. I'll just type in starts a new line. That's a tabulator. I think that should be enough description. So this is just for beautification. It doesn't matter because we're just printing some character. We can just skip that, like with comments, right? And when we do that, we just get straight out list of fruits, which is also fine. So we have 2 uses of this for loop. We can just iterate over a given number of times, or we can do it this way. Of course, there are some combinations, like if we take this thing, and instead of looping over 5, we can ask it to loop it over the length of this list. And the length of this list is 4. Well, 5. So it's going to print this iteration mark. In this case, when you use range, we can just call it I. In most programming languages, when we iterate over something, we call it I, or if there's a loop inside, we call it J, things like that. But it's up to you, whatever you find more easy. But in most cases, when you reach for materials online, they are going to use for iteration this I character. It can be anything. It can be a truck, for all we care. And it still works. It's just going to, in this case, iterate over a given range. As long as it's integer, it's going to work. This comment is not going to give us any float numbers, so it's quite safe to use in this regard. Most programming languages code it like that, but we don't have to do it like that because we can do it like here. So it's an iteration. All elements. So this is very neat. And here I wrote, this works too, but better check the loop above. There's different ways of writing code, and well, it's up to you how you write it. But yeah, this is a bit more confusing than just this line. It works too. And if you want to get this output of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can just redo this loop. Let's say A equals 0. Print A. We did use this type of comment when we were checking the mathematical operations. If we type it like this, each time this line is executed, line number 23, it will add 1 to A. A starts with 0. So we are going to get similar output. So to separate it from the other output, let's just put something here. Another for loop. Yeah, this way it's nicely separated. And we have it like this. But for example, if, and it's also important where you place your items on the list. For example, if we place this one before we print, obviously we are going to get everything one bigger because we print the value of A after adding 1 to A. So I'll type that. Yeah, this type of writing that A is plus equal 1, it's very typical for many programming languages, C++, Java, JavaScript, like most of them have it. But of course, if you write it this way, it also works. But go ahead and test it if you feel like it. So we covered the for loop, but the thing is, if we don't use it in actual examples, we probably are not going to remember it. So how about you guys make a list of anything you want. It doesn't have to be fruits. It can be cars, days. It can be any numbers you wish. Just name the list any way you want. And if you guys could try to write 2 examples of loops, just like these 2.